What the fuck? Hello everyone. Welcome back to me talking. This is not anything. This is just water. We need to have a chat. I leave you people unsupervised for 3 months, and this is how you repay me? This. You steal. You people. I know you're watching. This is how you repay me. Repay me. This is how you repay me. Sorry, I'm late on this. I know I am. I had some mic troubles, and if I see one comment about the quality of sound in this video, shut up. I ordered the wrong mic cord 3 times. 3. And I still don't fully know how this works, and I'm filming it on my phone for the first time. Be nice to me. I'm sensitive, and I'm in mourning. And I didn't film for a little bit because I got this haircut. Why are we actually here? We are here because you know why. The Louvre got robbed. What? In broad daylight. Out of nowhere. They climbed a ladder. And they used a saw. And they took things because they could do that. They're not supposed to be able to do that. Clearly, I'm impassioned about this. Let me bring it down for a second. Hello, my name is Sydney. Typically, I do a series called Art History. That is not the case today. It could be. This can be like an honorary video, but this is an emergency broadcast. That's a month late, but emergency broadcast. I am here to talk today about the jewels that were stolen from the Louvre on October 19th, 2025. If you didn't know that happened, sorry to break the news to you. Maybe you should talk to people more. I am not here today to talk about the robbery. That has been talked about enough. We all know what happened. We all know what went down. We think we probably know who did it. I am here today to talk about what was stolen, because I have the feeling among a lot of other people that these jewels are not coming back. We are not getting them back. By this time, they are probably melted down. They are probably in bits and pieces, sold to a bunch of annoying rich people who live off of greed and have destroyed their souls long ago. To cope with that, I will be talking about the history of these jewels as best as I can. A couple disclaimers. 1. This is an emergency broadcast, like I said, so I have not done a lot of in-depth research on these people. I will be upfront and say most of this is from Wikipedia. Don't come for me, okay? This is more research on these jewels than you will ever do, and you know it. So I might get some things wrong. Do not take this as completely academic, okay? This is more a topical thing, talking about the significant people who owned these jewels. Because to be honest with you, I know nothing about jewelry, okay? I don't know jewelry trends. I don't know the art history behind any form of jewelry whatsoever. I know nothing about this. I will not be talking about any technical aspects of it, like any art styles. I will just be talking about the significant people who wore these pieces, which I honestly think is an interesting part about jewelry as art history, because the pieces really aren't all that famous unless someone significant wore them. That's not really the case with a lot of other realms of art. Like, it's usually the person who made it is the significant person, not the person who owned it. Another disclaimer, I do not speak French, okay? I'm a poser. I'm going to try my darndest to pronounce these names. Likely the way this is going to go is I'm going to pronounce it the French way first, at least I'm going to attempt to, and then I am going to pronounce most other things in the Americanized way. Without further ado, let's talk about these pieces of jewelry, who wore them, and why that's important. All right, our victims. We have the sapphire parure set. This word means set. The sapphire set of jewelry significantly owned and worn by
Hortense de Beauharnais
and
Maria Amalia of Naples, Sicily.
we then have the emerald necklace and earrings of Empress
Marie-Louise.
And finally, we have two brooches, a reliquary brooch, a corsage bow brooch, a tiara, and sort of a crown. This was stolen, then dropped on the ground because they're stupid, and then recovered by the Louvre. So it was like half stolen. It went on a little field trip. But these were owned by
Eugénie de Montijo.
There is our lineup. We are going to start with the Sapphire set. Here was the succession of the set according to the Louvre website. It began in the possession of Queen Hortense, then to Queen Maria Amelia, then to Louis Philippe Albert of Orleans, who was the Count of Paris, then to Isabelle de Orleans, who was the Duchess of Guise, then to Henri de Orleans, Count of Paris. Then it was purchased by the Louvre Museum in 1985, stolen in 2025. On the Louvre Museum, this sapphire set is credited to Queen Hortense and Queen Maria Amélie. It's one or the other, depending on where you look it up. We're going to begin with the history of Queen Hortense. So she was born in April 1783. She lived until 1837. She was born like right in the French Revolution. Her father was executed in the French Revolution. It was a few days before the Reign of Terror, which was like a big ol' crazy event in the French Revolutions. Lots of executions. Her mother was imprisoned that same exact year and then was released. 2 years later, in 1796, her mother marries Napoleon. Yeah, that freaking guy. Bonaparte. This guy. And then in 1802, by Napoleon's request, Hortense marries Napoleon's brother Louis, making her mom her sister-in-law as well. Listen to me. We are going to get into this family tree at the end of the video. It's not terrible, but they're all very, very connected. So they get married. Yippee, but like not really. She actually hated her husband. She was not a fan of him whatsoever. Maybe because her mom's now her sister-in-law? I don't know, just speculating. But Napoleon appointed Louis as King of Holland in 1806. She was like not a fan of her husband, so they lived separately, I believe, because he was King of Holland, so he was in the Netherlands. She stayed within the French court and was basically chilling until Napoleon annulled his marriage to her mother Josephine and remarries to Marie Louise of Austria. Put a pin in that. Because of this, Hortense couldn't really stay with like her mom and Napoleon anymore. She had to go to the Netherlands, and she was not a fucking fan whatsoever. She considered this like the end of her marriage. She's like, dude, if my mom's not my sister-in-law, we're not married anymore. So she kind of dips for France kind of right away. Her husband then abdicates the throne to their son, Napoleon Louis Bonaparte, real creative name. After this, I don't know actually if the marriage was annulled or if she was just kind of like, marriage is a mindset, and I don't have that mindset anymore. I like to think that that's what happened. But she then became very involved in the arts, actually. She was always involved. She actually, if you look her up, she's credited as a composer. She had a couple of dramatic affairs and overall just seems to be kind of an icon. When Napoleon was defeated in 1814 and he abdicated the throne, she was banished. And I did not write down where she went. Good note taking, Sydney. But during that banishment, she went like fully into the arts. She wrote a memoir, or a couple, I think. She composed, she drew, she painted, she hosted a lot of soirees. She was just very much involved in the art scene and seemed to be friends with some pretty significant people at the time, which I think is really cool. For the remainder of her life, she seemed to travel around a little bit. She kind of got involved in some weird political things with her son, and she actually died relatively young. She died at the age of 54 in 1837 to cancer. After she passed away, one of her sons, Charles Louis Napoleon, returned to Paris, where he became Emperor Napoleon III. Another pin in that. What is this in regards to the jewelry? Well, she was the first owner of it, the first credited owner of it. We don't know who made this set. We just know that she was the first one to significantly wear it. It's kind of believed that Josephine, Hortense's mom, gave this to her, and there's like a family legend that this set was owned by Marie Antoinette. After her, this set somehow gets passed along to Maria Amalia. Maria Amalia is 1 year older than Hortense. She was born in 1782 and she lived until 1866. She was the niece of Marie Antoinette. She ended up becoming the Queen of France by marriage to Louis Philippe I. Not the same as Louis before. I'm also going to keep confusing Louis and Louis. Sorry. She was the last queen of France. Isn't that fun? Her and Louis Philippe got married in 1809, where then Maria Amelia became the Duchess of Orleans. Their marriage was controversial, kind of crazy, because she, niece of Marie Antoinette, his family is like kind of credited for killing Marie Antoinette. So little weird. I would imagine that ceremony was a bit tense. In 1830, Louis Philippe becomes King of the French. Or something. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean, you know what I mean. Apparently, Maria Amelia did not enjoy this. She apparently said that her husband's acceptance of the crown was a catastrophe. She seemed like a pretty neutral lady. Out of everyone that we're talking about here, she seems the most chill because of all like the cutting people's heads off situation. They lived a pretty quiet life as far as royalty can. She was very charitable. She was not very proud to be the Queen of the French. In fact, when they were discussing headstone situations, she asked to be called the Duchess of Orleans, not the Queen of the French. She died at the age of 83 in 1866. So as far as this jewelry, this was, again, somehow given to her. And then when her grandchildren got married, she distributed the jewels among them, which I think is adorable. I think that's so cute. That then means that this sapphire set, what we would be looking at in the museum if it was still there, is not the original. Switching out the jewels seems to be kind of a common thing. It's kind of like a weird Ship of Theseus question of like, is it the metal part that's like the jewelry and then the jewels are just the decoration or what? This jewelry was then kind of passed down along some other people like I discussed earlier. No one as of like complete significance as these two women. So that is the end of the sapphire set section. We are now moving on to the emerald set. Here is the succession of this set. This was given from Napoleon to Marie Louise, his second wife. Remember that pin? We're taking it back out now. According to the Louvre website, Marie Louise then gave this to her aunt Elizabeth. I could not find anywhere evidence of her having an aunt named Elizabeth, but this is from the Louvre website, so I'm going to assume they know more than I do and assume they know more than Wikipedia does, and then passed down to the Archduke of Tuscany, Marie-Therese, wife of Karl Stefan, who is the Duke of Teschen, a guy named Karl Albrecht, another guy named Karl Stefan, or the same guy, unclear. Then some jewelers, Van Cleef and Arpels, then a baroness named Elie de Rothschild, then in 2004 acquired by the Louvre, stolen in 2025. Let's talk about Marie Louise, shall we? So she was named after her grandmother, who was the Holy Roman Empress, who despised the French Revolution because Marie Louise is the niece of Marie Antoinette. So her mom hated the French Revolution because it killed her sister, okay? So, not a fan of these little revolutionaries. Apparently, young Marie Louise referred to Napoleon as the Antichrist in some letters to her governess, and when Marie Louise found out that Napoleon was looking for a wife, she said, quote, "I pity the poor princess whom he'll choose." She had plans to marry the Duke of Modena, who was the older brother of her stepmother. Look, they didn't have Tinder back then. I don't know. However, in 1810, the end of the War of the Fifth Coalition resulted in the marriage of Napoleon and Marie Louise. Ooh, ouchie for Marie Louise. Can't imagine she was too happy about that. So their marriage was strange. Napoleon was a little bit busy doing war things and she was away, but they wanted to get this marriage to happen because they wanted peace between France and Austria. They were married by proxy, which meant that Napoleon had to have a man, like, stand in for their marriage. And who did they choose as that man? Her uncle. Because there weren't any other options. I I don't know why they would do that. Just get just a random guy off the street. Later in that year, in April of 1810, they had an actual like civil wedding, and for the religious ceremony, they actually had that in the Louvre. I think that's pretty awesome. I didn't know that was an option. I'm sure it's not an option for like me, but I didn't know you could get married in the Louvre. Through this marriage, an interesting little family tree tidbit, Napoleon then became the great nephew-in-law of Marie Antoinette. Initially, their marriage was a little bit cold, as you can imagine. They weren't the biggest fans of each other. Apparently, they did end up warming up to each other. He actually claimed to like Marie Louise a little bit more than Josephine, because apparently Josephine was like, I don't know, she sounded more fun, to be honest with you. So Marie Louise got pregnant like right away, and she had a son in 1811. Then shit starts hitting the fan around 1813, 1814. Marie Louise was appointed regent, which meant that she was head honcho twice, once in March of 1813 and once in January of 1814, because Napoleon was away doing Napoleon things. The Napoleon things did not go well, however, though, because in 1814 Napoleon abdicates the throne. Then he's gotta get out of there. They exiled his ass. Marie Louise was like just chilling. She was like allowed to stay. She got to keep like imperial role. She was in charge of some places, and she kind of just like ghosts Napoleon. They didn't really talk all that much. It's just kind of like, well, that was weird couple years for you and I, wasn't it? She becomes lovers with a guy or two guys. Good for her, you know? But this post-divorce bliss does not stay around for very long, because in 1815, Napoleon's like, I'm back, baby. Just like that. He's like, how about we go to war again? Hey, Marie, do you want to help me out, maybe? Like, pray for my success. Thoughts on that? She gave him the finger. She was like, I'm good. I'm chilling. How about you never insult me like that again? Napoleon gets defeated again. It was embarrassing. Gets exiled again, and he made no more attempts to contact her. The message was received. Not much of note seems to happen for the remainder of her life. I think she just kind of chilled out, gets remarried one or two times, and then she dies of sickness in 1847. So now we talk about the jewelry. This set was a wedding gift. The Grand Duke of Tuscany was actually her cousin, and his descendants ended up keeping this set until 1953, and then it was given to the Smithsonian in 1966, and then joined the Louvre's collection in 2004, and then stolen in 2025. Alright, last round of things, everyone. We now have the brooches, tiara, and crown of Empress Eugenie. We're going to start with the crown, which, remember, was only halfway stolen. It just went on a little bit of a field trip. This crown was created for the Empress. She was married to Napoleon III. There was this exhibition called the Universal Exhibition, in which the French royalty wanted to show off. Shocker. And so they had a jeweler make a bunch of things for this couple. The crown and a lot of these other items were included. And then she gives it to Princess Marie Clotilde Napoleon, Countess of Witt, which is very fun. And then goes straight from her to the Louvre in 1988. And then it was stolen and dropped by some doofus trying to steal it in 2025. The bow brooch, same thing, created for the Universal Exhibition, was sold to a jeweler in the sale of the Crown Diamonds in 1887, then acquired by the Duke of Westminster for the marriage of his daughter, and then Elise Chui, 8th Countess Bonchamp, acquired it by inheritance. Another jeweler got it, and then in 2008, the Louvre got it, stolen in 2025. Finally, the tiara. Same thing. Universal Exhibition. Sale of the Crown Diamonds to a jeweler, acquired in 1890 by the Prince of Thurn and Taxis, which then that collection of Thurn and Taxis was put up for sale in 1992, then was bought and gifted to the Louvre that same year. Okay, she's my favorite. Miss Eugenie de Mongiton. I did not pronounce that right. Madame Eugenie. Love her. She's a lot of fun. Let's get into it. She was born in 1826, lived until 1920. She was Empress of the French by marriage to Napoleon III, who is Hortense's son. She was Empress from 1853 until 1870, when Napoleon III got overthrown. Her early life was a lot. She seemed a little bit of a wild thing. I will say here, I'm giving a very brief overview of her life. I'm not going to get into the details, especially because I use Wikipedia. I'm not risking that. Would recommend looking into her, though. She seems like a lot of fun. Very interesting lady. Very full and eventful life. She was generally part of the courts, part of high society. She met her future husband in 1849. They didn't get married until 1853. When Napoleon III announced their marriage, he said, "I have preferred a woman whom I love and respect to a woman unknown to me, with whom an alliance would have had advantages mixed with sacrifices." So they liked each other. They had a little crush on each other. I think that's so sweet. They had a civil ceremony in a place that I can't pronounce, and then a grander, more religious ceremony at Notre Dame. Ooh. Oh, jealous. She only had one son. It seemed to be a very traumatic time, so that was it. Got the heir, never having babies again. Instead, she decided to be very, very active and political. Men seemed to hate her, and I think that's a beautiful thing. She did not care. Every single story that you read about her, it's just her offending these stuck-up royalty motherfuckers, and I think it's awesome. She really strongly advocated for equality of women. She really supported women in academia specifically. She traveled all over. She was part of the opening of the Suez Canal, and she officially represented her husband whenever he left France. Specifically, she acted as regent in 1859, 1865, and 1870. And in the 1860s, she attended meetings of the Council of Ministries and sometimes led the meetings. Like I said, there's a lot more political stuff that she got into just like being herself and not really giving a damn, and I could keep going, but again, Wikipedia, I'm not going to. She just seemed very interesting, very much herself, and I really admire that, especially in like an older historical woman. Sadly, her husband and her son both died before her, and so she kind of backed away from being like obviously super powerful, but she was still very politically active and very socially active until her death in 1920. As far as the jewelry goes, this lady was a fashion icon. People were obsessed with her. She was obsessed with Marie Antoinette. She was, interior decorating wise, very inspired by her. Fashion wise, she had one of the most important jewelry collections, very, very significant, and she was a fashion influencer. You girls don't know who you are walking behind, okay? Gowns, colors, hairstyles, all copied throughout Europe and America. She'd wear multiple gowns a day, never wore the same gown twice, would have one for like morning, noon, and night. But don't you worry. She would then give these dresses to charity, which, like, okay, to be honest, it probably wasn't like charity, but still, sustainable icon. Two very significant fashion influence she had. There is the Eugenie hat, which I'm reading directly from the Wikipedia here. Is a style of women's chapeau worn dramatically tilted and drooped over one eye. Its brim is folded up sharply at the sides in the style of a riding topper, often with one long ostrich plume streaming behind it. Very fun. More like personal to her style though was like bell sleeves. It was like this big old like greatcoat with like buttons at the top, and like I'm kind of obsessed with her, I'm not gonna lie. She was also involved in like museums and curation, very supportive of the arts and history and women in general. So thus concludes my script and the history of these women and their jewelry. Hello, I imagine this transition is going to be a bit clunky. I'm filming this after I filmed everything. I totally forgot about the family tree that I made, so I'm going to show this to you now. I hope this kind of helps understanding what's going on family-wise, because they're all connected. We begin at the top of the tree with Maria Theresa and Francis I. They have a lot of kids. I'm only in this tree putting the ones that are significant to this story that I'm telling. They have Marie Antoinette and Maria Carolina. They are sisters. Maria Carolina has Maria Amelia as a daughter, making Maria Amelia niece of Marie Antoinette. Maria Amelia is the one who had the sapphire set. Going back to the siblings here, Marie Antoinette was also siblings with Leopold II. He has a son, Francis II, who then has Marie Louise as his daughter. She is the one that has the emerald set. And the reason she has the emerald set is because she was the second wife to Napoleon. Napoleon's first wife, Josephine, mother to Hortense, who married Louis Bonaparte, Napoleon's brother. They have a couple kids, but they have a kid, Napoleon III, who then marries Eugenie. They become emperor and empress. I hope that helped. Smooth transition back to... I'm gonna improv I'm gonna kind of freestyle my conclusion here. I don't have anything written down. This was fun to make. This was fun to research. I am devastated that these were stolen from the Louvre. Honestly, more because of the implications of like how easy that was. And now just knowing that the Louvre has to be so heavily guarded, and that's probably going to turn some people away from going, and it's probably going to impact some people's visitation. Like, I'm sure security's way up, there's probably more armed guards, and that's just going to make some people uncomfortable, and it's going to take away from the serene and delightfully overwhelming experience that going to the Louvre and going to grand museums like this is supposed to be. I will say, hot take here, I wouldn't be talking about these jewels if they didn't get stolen. I wish that wasn't the case, but that is true. These jewels would not be being discussed in this video if they did not get stolen. I wish there was, another way that that could have happened and they could have stuck around. But here we are. Another thing that I was pleasantly surprised and didn't really think about until I actually stood here to record is this is all about women. It's all about the freaking ladies. I'm wondering if the lack of discussion of jewelry as art historical pieces is maybe influenced by that, by the fact that women are the ones who wear them, who enjoy them, who pass them along to other women and men, but let's be honest, they're probably not wearing them, they're probably just displaying them. So it was fun to discover the histories of these very significant and very powerful and sometimes really fun women that I would not have known about at all if none of this had happened. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoy your holidays. Yeah, is that it? This is the shortest I've ever filmed. This is really nice. Okay. That's it. Bye.